everyone, and welcome back to the Between Realities VR podcast. It's the VR podcast of your dreams, and we are absolutely honored to be here to bring it to you. We, being myself, Alex VR, and my co-host and ship captain, Skiva. Hey, Skiva.
Hey, dude. How you doing?
Great.
Awesome.
Things could be worse.
Yes.
I had a Meta Quest Pro show up at my doorstep this week, so things could be a lot worse. Oh, what is this?
Look at that.
Is this a Meta Quest Pro? Oh my gosh, it is. It's pretty sweet. So yeah, it's pretty great. You know, I brought it over here and made sure that you had a chance to jump into it before we
yes. Thank you for that.
Oh,
thank you for that. It was great to demo that headset, to decide if I want to sell a limb to buy one.
Which you know, I guess we'll get your thoughts on that a little bit once we kind of get up and running. How's your week been? Been good?
Yeah, it's been good. You know, we're ramping up for a whole month of travel here. We leave tomorrow, which will be a couple days ago when this airs, because we are pre-recording, right? So we're going to be leaving tomorrow for Salt Lake City, Utah, to go to the New Reality VR Convention, hosted by the Virtual Athletics League in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Which is happening right now.
Right now.
That's happening.
Right.
We're there.
We're there.
Currently.
Yes.
Probably, maybe watching this on our phones.
Probably.
Maybe not. Maybe we're too busy hanging out with all of our favorite VR creators, VR developers, VR esports enthusiasts and athletes. Like, I don't know. I mean,
I will pop in for sure, because I'm never too busy for you guys.
Oh, wow. Oh my God. That's so touching. Well, that's cool. Yeah, you know, VAL has been doing stuff, man.
They have been.
You know, like they got on the show earlier in this month.
Yep, a couple weeks ago.
I guess now it's November, right?
Yep, it is.
But in October they got on the show and came on to kind of talk about the New Reality Convention that we are currently at. Yep. And they actually made this episode happen.
They did. That is absolutely right. This is a VAL sponsored episode, and our guests will be showing their games at this convention as well. So I'm stoked.
Yeah, that is extremely exciting. Hey, by the way, shout out Upload VR, right? Yeah, maybe you're watching this on Upload VR right now, because guess what? We're officially partnered with Upload VR as correspondents for Upload VR. It's amazing. We also have an audio version of this podcast. It's on Anchor and Spotify and iTunes and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And if you're listening, thank you. And if you're listening, also come watch the video sometime on YouTube, right? Because that's really our favorite place to see.
You can check out the video now on Anchor as well. We were pre-approved for like an early beta video podcasting. Nice. So yeah, we're, you know, a great we have great numbers on there so far. So hop over there too and check out the video there as well. We do this show from a spaceship, and we have, you know, screens, and you can see our guests and their pretty faces and all that stuff. So yeah, come on over, give it a watch.
We do that, all of that stuff. So come over, watch the show. If you're here on YouTube with us right now, like and subscribe. Because we need that. Maybe become a channel member or a Patreon if you just realize that you love us, which absolutely, you know, makes sense.
If you'd like to, awesome. If we earn that from you, then awesome.
All right, very good. So VAL, right? They made this episode happen. You know, it's not often that we get two important people from two important VR developer studios on the show at once.
Same time.
But we have two guests today from two different studios, and I'm actually kind of curious to hear the story as to exactly why that is the case. Yeah. You know what I mean? But before we have the story, we should probably introduce our guests and bring them onto the show. So please, everybody, welcome to Between Realities from RamenVR, the developers of Zenith, and from Thirdverse, the developers of Altair Breaker. We have Andy and Nogi. What's up, Andy? What's up, Nogi? Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Good to be here.
Thanks for coming, guys. It's great to have you.
How you doing, Nogi?
Good.
You doing good?
Good. Excellent.
Where are you guys located right now? Where's everybody joining us from?
So we both are in the San Francisco Bay Area. We actually kind of friends, sometimes meet in real life. So yeah, I'm very happy to have our VR gaming studio friends in the Bay Area.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I do like we gotta figure this out. Okay, like how did this episode happen? Like, why do we have Andy and Nogi on the same show? How did you guys meet? Like, how did the friendship start?
You want to talk about it, Andy?
Yeah. Well, it all started in a sushi restaurant, actually. Yeah. I mean, no, it actually all started at a convention. I forget which convention.
Yeah, I think it's the GDC. So,
GDC, yeah.
we have booths, and then you and your team member visit our booths and play the Altair Breaker, like alpha version. And then we start communicate, and then I invited him to the sushi because I'm Japanese, and then we went to the authentic Japanese sushi restaurant in San Francisco, and we started talking about VR, and then become good friends.
Wow, that's great. So is that this? Oh, I don't know if I can turn around. Is that this GDC?
It was that. Yeah, it was that GDC. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, the Zenith launch party on my birthday GDC.
That was awesome.
Yeah. I'm glad. It was good to see you out there, man. I'm glad you guys had a good time, and obviously we met some really amazing people, and that's how Nogi and I got connected. And so I'm excited and honored to be a part of this.
Wow!
Today.
So this is like a GDC reunion right here, really, if you think about it.
It is,
because we met Andy walking through the halls there at GDC.
Yep.
We probably caught you on your way to the bathroom and like held up your trip to the bathroom unintentionally, but we were walking from the bathroom and we see some guy coming towards us with a Zenith The Last City shirt on, and we're like, Zenith, yo, what's up, dude? And we didn't know that it was Andy, CEO of RamenVR, but it was. And we got to chatting, and we're like, oh man, dude, we're VR guys. And he's like, how about you come to our awesome launch party tomorrow night? And we were like, well, don't mind if we do. I think we will. And it just so happened to land on my birthday. So, like, thank you for throwing me a pretty awesome birthday party.
Right, yeah. We planned that in advance, actually, for your birthday.
Dude, that party was really nice, man. Like, and to be honest, like, I felt like really lucky to be in attendance because you guys launched the most successful VR MMO ever. It comes out on Steam. It is huge. Like, everyone's talking about it. And then the launch party's happening, and at GDC we get to go, and it was like you guys celebrating it, like you guys had like your family and friends there, and it was like really intimate and really nice, like really nice hors d'oeuvres and drinks, and it was like, I don't know, it felt like a really special kind of like almost behind the scenes, behind the curtain kind of event, and we were very grateful to be in attendance for that.
Oh yeah, we were really happy to have you guys there, and ultimately we do this stuff because we love making games, right? And so when we're throwing parties, we want to make sure that kind of reflects who we are as people too. We're very like not about kind of being pretentious or anything like that. We wanted to celebrate with our friends. We wanted it to be a low key kind of evening, not too ragey, just kind of fun and food and drink. So I'm glad you guys were a part of that. But yeah,
thank you, dude.
That was a good time.
It was awesome. Were you able to get in with Ramen early enough, Nogi, to be at that party, or what? Were you there with us?
I met Nogi at the event. It was just the people that were running the booth, right? Yeah.
But unfortunately, I couldn't join his party.
Well,
yeah, but I don't think we actually met Nogi until I didn't meet Nogi until maybe a couple months later.
Wow, really? That's interesting. That's interesting.
We are in the same VR space. That's why you need to get into there. You like VR? What's your favorite VR game? And then we just talk a lot.
Because I feel like I met you at GDC, Nogi. Like, we came by the Altair booth.
At the Albo booth. Yeah, that's I remember.
Wow, that's interesting.
Also, I met you at AWE as well.
Is it AWE that I'm thinking of?
Man, they're all starting to blend together. Of these expos. We've been to maybe a dozen this year. Probably 12 at least, maybe more.
Which one did I come by the booth and do the demo? And I was just like crushing it in there. Do you remember which one we met at, Nogi?
It's a GDC.
Was that okay? It was GDC. Okay, GDC, cool. I'm not crazy. And then yes, I remember bumping into you at AWE as well. You were getting ready to go to the Tokyo like VR show. Yeah, which I assume happened by now, right? Yeah.
Actually, I didn't go, but we had a booth at the Tokyo Game Show. It happened in September, and then I showed our new game X8 over there.
Oh, that's the thing that Thrill Seeker went to, isn't it?
Through Seeker was actually 2 weeks ago in Japan. I invited him to the Japan.
Got it.
I really wanted to have some key opinion leader opinion about our game, and we really wanted to build a community with content creator and the core VR shooter gamers. That's why it was really valuable.
Wow, that's awesome. So you had Thrillseeker and Fia come and visit your guys' studio in Japan. That sounds like a dream. I'm sure you guys had a good time.
Yeah. Wow. That would be cool because you have. Do we want to talk about why that was? Right. There's something new coming. Correct.
Yeah. About our new game X8.
Ooh, the X8.
Yeah, so that's so we have 2 studios. One is in Japan, and we actually have a studio in the US. And the X8 is actually our US studio is developing almost 2 years.
Oh.
And then that's the 5v5 tactical hero based shooter game. So featuring the very competitive maps. Yeah, and then wide variety weapons. And then the new specific feature is each hero has an ability. And then when you activate abilities, you have to do gesture, and then cast, and then the activate a new skill,
Sweet.
Like this. Yeah, that's a concept. Like a
Sweet.
Overwatch, Valorant, like Apex Legends theme kind of game in the VR.
Man, I would love to try this sometime soon.
Looks absolutely incredible. We have a video up right now of this, and it just looks absolutely killer.
You're having showcase in the new reality in the Salt Lake City now.
Oh, great. So we're going to get to try this.
Yeah, we'll try it a couple of days.
Well, I'm super excited. I feel like this genre specifically, like the team-based tactical hero shooter ability based kind of game has like there's been a few people that have like taken a stab at it, and I feel like it kind of just falls short every time, and I'm gonna hope and pray that that's not the case with the X8, because I would love to have a game like this that I can like really like sink into a role, kind of like an MMORPG, like Zenith, like sink into a role and be like, yes, I primarily play tank with my groups, and then he's playing this role, and like we can really kind of like get those specialties going.
So was this kind of it seems to me like an Overwatch type of game in VR. Is that kind of what you're going for?
Overwatch, Apex Legends, or Valorant, kind of theme game.
Valorant.
VR.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, sweet,
Nice.
Sweet. Well, this is super exciting. I definitely cannot wait to try this one, and am looking forward to trying it at the VAL event.
Yeah, very nice. Is there a release date for this?
We haven't announced it, but it's gonna be early next year.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Early next year.
Good.
Awesome. And then what's going on with Altair Breaker? What's the latest? How's that been going for you guys?
So we launched the game this August, and we keep updating. And now we are preparing major update, which is gonna be on November 17th.
November 17th, new update for Altair Breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we implemented a new area also, which is a procedural maps. Also, big boss, new enemies, and kind of stuff. So the user going to be enjoy more maps, new experience.
Yep, new area, new boss, new feature to invite your friends, DLC of Royal Set. I'm assuming those are cosmetics. And the new weapon series from Swords of Gargantua. So these are weapons that once appeared in your previous title then, Swords of Gargantua, right?
Yeah, correct.
That's cool. Man, can I ask you about Swords of Gargantua? Because right before Altair Breaker came out, you guys basically just pulled the plug on Swords of Gargantua, and you're like, nope, this is done. We're not going to support this game anymore. And honestly, if you can't even play it anymore, like it's like gone. And I remember seeing some posts around that time of people who were somewhat salty about that. They're like, oh man, look at these guys just pulling the plug on a game because they have a new one coming out. How did that go over for you guys? Like, did you have any issues? Have you had to like try to win anybody back? And what's your response when people try to give you a hard time about it?
Yeah, so initially we have actually the technical issues, and then we've been kind of struggling how to fix it. But it's not only our issue because we use our third-party tool kind of stuff. So, and then so we saw it struggling to run the game, and then we carefully announced, no, we have to, stop the game. But as you guys know, we have some, some comments from users. Then we reconsider, but it takes time. But we decided to reopen the game. So we already announced it, and then we are now targeting reopen the game early next year as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah, because we need to listen to what user says. Because we really dedicated community. But if the community denied our decision, we have to think about it, and they try to change our decision. That's what we did.
Wow. Well, I'm really happy I asked, because I think that's awesome. And I'll be honest, I feel like there are people who, I feel like with Swords of Gargantua, you either love it or you don't. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like the perception that I've gotten from that game over the years. And I personally am someone who actually really did enjoy it. I enjoyed the sword play. I enjoyed the multiplayer aspects of it. So to hear that I'll have an opportunity to jump into it again in the future is great. Yeah. I'm sure that makes a lot of people happy, especially those who paid money to get into that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And other things we got, which actually we didn't know. So the players actually wanted to have an offline mode, and then which Swords of Gargantua didn't have. That's also we are trying to implement for the future update.
Wow, that's really awesome. That's really awesome. So you'll have time to get Altair Breaker up and running, get it to a good spot where it's kind of coasting, and then you'll have the X8 launching up on your other team, and then I guess the team in Japan will be kind of jumping back into Swords of Gargantua and getting that back up and running?
Yeah, correct.
That's lovely. I think that's great.
That's awesome.
I think that's great.
I think that's fantastic. There's not a whole lot of sword fighting games in VR. I mean, comparatively speaking to like shooters and stuff. So this is great. I think that's fantastic. The more the more we have from Thirdverse, the better.
Mm-hmm, so. For sure.
Yeah. So sword fighting game genre right now, of course, Bread and Sorcery is the top. But we have our challenge is actually multiplayer. And then that multiplayer, also single player is actually more into the physics, right? But multiplayer game, it's kind of hard to implement the physics. Yeah. But this is our challenge. But we also create something different, the entertainment in the multiplayer sword fighting. That also we are focusing. That's going to be that huge difference from single player physics-based game, also multiplayer sword fighting game that we also want to dig into in the future.
Oh, that's great. Hey, I have a question for you about the multiplayer. The last time I played Altair Breaker in multiplayer mode, I went in there with 3 of my VR creator buddies, and we were just blasting through it. Like, it was like honestly way too easy for us. Like, I was not finding a single challenge, and we played for a little while. And I'm wondering, did we start up like the wrong way, or does it start just really easy, and do you have to keep playing to get to some more difficult gameplay?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we are still startup, and we keep hiring people. But sword fighting game is actually the Japan studio is making, and we keep hiring more experienced people. And right now we have many people from Sony Interactive Entertainment and who experienced the huge MMA title before. So they're way more professional and very experienced. And then one of the guy who is a battle creative director, his concept is start from super easy. Because still VR, some people is still quite new or even never play VR. So that's why you feel like it's easy. Mm-hmm. But he designed very carefully. Then it's getting more difficult as long as you play. That's we should have more clearly messaging user. Yeah, that's a point of the difficulties of the Altair Breaker. Yeah.
So if I'm understanding correctly, then if we were to just keep pushing, eventually, like, we would hit a point where the difficulty starts to ramp up.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good to know. Because I'm sure we're not the only people who had that experience. Jumped in there with a couple of friends, and we're just like dropping bosses like easy peasy. Mm-hmm.
For example, like if you reached out kind of like a player level 20 or something. And then the game is extremely difficult. But we keep balancing.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great.
Yeah, this game is like absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
You know, like I got into this game not really I mean, I knew what to expect a little bit because we did some demos and stuff at GDC and AWE, but like really sinking my teeth into this, I felt like I was in an anime. Like battling, like sword fighting, like the enemy, you can slash the enemies up into the air, and then you can kind of go up into the air and continue your fight, just like you see in some of these anime movies and shows. And it it was very unique. I had never played anything like this before, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
So
I do like
awesome.
I do like the combat. It flows really nicely, and like I guess that's like it's. If it's too easy, then like that flow, like it doesn't feel like I'm as badass as I want to be, you know.
Yeah.
But to your point, like knocking people up, flying up in the air, like blasting them in midair, landing, seeing somebody over there, chucking some ranged attacks at them.
Yeah.
Like, it feels really
it
good.
was really cool. It was cool.
That's the main concept of the game, especially for the sword fighting mechanics.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. You guys, you're definitely onto something there, and I will be watching closely to see kind of how the game develops, and I think I need to get back in there and make sure that I get a more of a difficult challenge.
Yeah. Speaking of challenges, can you tell us some of the challenges maybe that go into melee combat in virtual reality? Because there's a lot of companies out there and big companies that are afraid to attempt melee combat. And you guys seem to have really nailed it. It feels really good when you're hitting things. There's a lot of times when companies try melee combat and you just kind of go over and you waggle your wrist but that's not kind of how this game works, right? It feels good. The hitting feels good. But I would imagine that comes with some challenges.
Yeah, so when we developed the Sword of Gargantua, we talk with actual sword fighter, like a kendo stuff, and like fencing people, and then we capture how they move, and then we try to create as real as possible. That's the main concept of the Sword of Gargantua, and then we learn how to parry, the girl stuff, everything, every single degree kind of things, and then we realize the game as a sword fighting simulator. And then I think it works. That's why people loves it. But we also figured out some of the people, on the other hand, wanted to have more like a surreal experience, not only just real fighting. And then we implemented more like superpowers, surreal experience, like a aerial combo kind of stuff. So, but Alex said it's a little bit too easy. It's kind of the chicken and egg which we take. Because if aerial combo is so difficult, the people say, it's difficult. So that's why we make it kind of easy, push and aerial, and then riding.
Yeah,
and I feel like like it's satisfying, the killing, the attacking the enemies, that kind of things. We keep just always seeing how the users satisfy the gameplay. That's the most challenging point of the sword fighting game, I think.
I'm sure you can speak to this too, Andy. I played a Blade Master when I was playing Zenith. So I mean, I played a lot of melee, and I did primarily only melee really when I was playing through Zenith. So what are your thoughts about melee combat in multiplayer VR?
Yeah, the funny thing is, when we were building Zenith, we looked at a lot of what Swords of Gargantua was doing. And we did a lot of research, right? We looked at Swords of Gargantua, Until You Fall. We looked at a lot of different games, and then we did our own prototypes. And, ultimately, I think people want realism to a certain extent, but they also don't want to be super exhausted, especially with an MMO after playing for many hours. So we have to invent some kind of some systems that kind of minimize what we call energy fatigue to enable long play sessions, right? And for us, that was a timing based mechanic, so that you have to kind of wait for a couple of seconds for your sword to charge up before you strike down. But I honestly don't think it's even perfect. We're still constantly looking for ways to improve our combat mechanics and make them better and improve upon them, because I think ultimately for VR games, people really want to have that sense of mastery, maybe more so than games outside of VR, because when you're doing something physical in VR, it really actually feels like you're improving your skill set. versus if you're looking at a flat screen game, it's more like just button mashing for an MMO, right? And so yeah, we're actually even today still actively experimenting and thinking about new types of physical feeling combat and melee combat.
Right, because eventually you're going to want to be able to add more and more classes to this world, and not all of them are going to be ranged. Some of them are going to be melee. So how can you like differentiate different styles of melee combat and have it feel like a new class while you're up there? Maybe different style weapons or maybe different approaches to stuff. I mean, I can imagine you're probably not ready to talk about any of that stuff, but I can imagine like, I don't know, like a nunchuck class or something, like swinging like some nunchucks around, or like a flail or a mace or something would maybe be a fun approach to it. So it's lots of room.
I think ultimately when we look at what we're trying to build is kind of a core gameplay experience across both range combat, spellcasting, and also melee combat. And the more you can turn that into a kind of a sport, or like a kind of a mechanic that is more basic, like easy to learn, hard to master, the more you can build on top of that specific mechanic. So, if you're looking at games, if you're looking at things that are too gamified, right, it's hard to imagine building an entire kind of MMO or world on top of that, because then it's just become kind of a game. It's no longer a world. So with Zenith, we have to constantly resist the urge to just make it a completely gamified kind of sword fighting mechanic where it's all UI driven, like you're looking for specific slash points and things like that, and trying to figure out how to make it stand the test of time, right? Because we're really inventing new paradigms here when it comes to VR development, and I think there's still a lot of open idea space to be explored.
Yeah,
and the challenge for us has been a lot of the times is how do we evolve the game, because Zenith is a fraction of where we want it to be in the future. We think of it as almost like a platform or a games as a service, right? Like a VR MMO. Without alienating the users that we do have, which we love, right? And they've spent a lot of time mastering the existing mechanics that we built when we launched the game. So it's a process. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your perspective there, because as a user, we're not always thinking about that kind of stuff, like trying to like keep the cohesive feeling of like the whole world being there. Like I completely see what you're saying about like over gamifying the combat, and like turning it into something like Swords of Gargantua or Until You Fall, where you're just like positioning the sword in certain things, that kind of thing. Like I feel you. And I mean, for the record, I really enjoyed my Blade Master experience, like learning the different swipe patterns to like execute certain attacks and stuff like that. Like it felt very satisfying to me when I knew that I was cleaving a group down and I'm just like watching them all fall, I think that you could, I mean, and I don't know if this, I don't mean this to be like unsolicited advice, but like, maintaining the Blade Master's mechanics as a class, I think makes sense. And then like exploring other options as different classes would probably make sense and work, right?
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. I would say like all options are on the table, right? And we're also particularly excited about the prototyping work that's gone into the Cyber Ninja class, of course, which is kind of what we call our leather rogue type leather class, with kind of decent mid-range, but also kind of up-close attacks and kind of the stealthiness, the big crits, the big meaty kind of attacks and hits that we're really excited about. And the fact that the class can kind of also use like a bow, right, with the bow staff, I think is particularly exciting. It's something we haven't really tried before. But, if you look into the future, if you look very, very much into the future, the question is like, how much customization do we want to allow our users to have in between these classes, right? Because part of the fantasy of VR is you can be whoever you want to be. it's easy to have the archetype of Blade Master, Essence Mage, Cyber Ninja, and that fulfills the fantasy. But what if it's more like D&D? What if I want to, dual class, and I want to have a guy that has like 10 levels of Cyber Ninja and like 10 levels of Essence Mage or something like that, right? To be clear, we have not developed this out yet, right? It's just things that we think about when we're prototyping and thinking of making Zenith a long-term game.
Right. Well, that's such a fine line to walk too, because, like you were saying, like this is all like we're like inventing new paradigms. We're like evolving all of this as we go. And like there is no like perfect plan to follow, like it's up to you guys to decide ultimately which direction you want to take it, and you're just going to make the best decision that you can. And then ultimately just kind of hope that it resonates and that it works properly and that people respond well to it,
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Well, so what's the current state of Zenith? Because I played the game when it came out, just like everybody else did, and I played to level 40, and I was like, completed most of this content. I feel good, and I set it down. And I really haven't been back since I hit level 40. So if I was to come back today, is the Cyber Ninja in the game now, or is it about to be in the game?
Cyber Ninja is not in the game yet. We've actually recently kind of tried to be more transparent with our roadmaps. So we actually have a publicly facing roadmap now where we're sharing as much detail as we can about upcoming releases. And so Cyber Ninja is currently slated for the 1.3 release. Now we also have a pretty big update coming out in November that we don't have a firm announce date on that yet. But in that update, we're excited to introduce a couple of completely new core features. So where there's one called creature catching, right? Which you basically go out into the world of Zenith and you can catch different critters and pets. And we're excited about that because it unleashes an entirely new element of exploration and progression to the game, particularly for those that might have kind of exhausted themselves going through the combat and the endless grind of leveling up and grinding for gear. We also have a brand new raid boss that's coming out in this big update, as well as a completely new instance dungeon, which we're very excited about, which is geared more towards early levels. And we're also introducing kind of an agent rank system, which is kind of a seasonal way to progress through the game and earn different types of rewards in order to upgrade your character and your armor. And that's, a completely free system, by the way. There's no monetization behind it currently. And then finally, we've also completely rewritten the storyline for the first couple of areas. We have a completely new intro zone, and we have voiced cutscenes and intro cutscenes and voiced lines, and we've kind of retconned the plot to be a lot more engaging. And we've also redone the tutorials so that it's a lot easier for people that are just experiencing Zenith for the first time to actually understand how the game works. So, a lot of really exciting updates coming this month, and we're even more excited about, the future of the game.
Wow.
After that.
So Cyber Ninja is not yet slated for this next upcoming patch, right? We're still a little bit out from that.
Right. This upcoming patch in November will not have Cyber Ninja, although we have started developing it already.
Okay.
So there's plenty of work that's been done on the prototype part. It's really about finding the fun, making sure that we're living up to, the community's expectations of what a new class will be, because it's a completely new way to play the game. And, but Cyber Ninja is currently slated for 1.3, which is the next major update that comes immediately after 1.2.
Sweet. Do you think that when that class comes out, that like people like me are all just going to come flying back and everyone's going to make Cyber Ninjas, and then we're going to have like 90% Cyber Ninjas running around in the series or in the servers for the first couple of weeks?
I think it's definitely a possibility. Yeah, we would love to see some of the OG Zenith players come back and experience some of the really new content that we've been working on over the past year. We were also excited for 1.3 because there's going to be a lot more outside of Cyber Ninja. There's going to be the new player housing system, which we've been prototyping for quite some time. there's a lot coming out that we'll be excited to reveal in the coming.
You're kind of getting me hyped, dude.
I'm excited. I'm super excited too, because Zenith holds like a super special place in my gaming life, because I went through my entire life being a gamer and always avoided MMOs. Right? I never wanted, because I was always afraid that I was going to get sucked in and it was going to take over a large portion of my life. And then, and I avoided them until Zenith. And then I was like, I have to play this game. I have to play this game. And I did. And I went in there and I played a lot. I played a lot until I ground my way up to level 40. And I had the best time hanging out with my friends in there, you and Z-Storm and just a whole bunch of people. We just went in the, it's an MMO, right? And we did these quests together, and I just had such an amazing time, and the game was beautiful, and it was just so good.
Sorry to cut you off, but we've heard so many stories of that, of people that just had all these amazing times hanging out with their friends in Zenith. And I really think that that's kind of the core difference between a flat screen MMO and an online game in VR. I think that's something that's really important to us and important for us to understand. For us, it's not just the gameplay that gets people coming in. It's the ability to be somebody else. It's that identity, that shared experience that you have with someone that may be all the way across the world, which is that much more powerful because it's virtual reality. And I think it's really the social aspects and elements that'll keep people coming back. So the question is, how do we build the game so that it honors that and you guys don't run out of content to do, right? Like it's not, we don't want you guys getting burned out spending, hundreds of hours a month playing Zenith. We want you guys going in there every day just to chill with your friends and build stuff and work together to kind of, I guess, introduce some potential more sandboxy elements to the game in the future as well. So it's not just a place you go to grind out levels. Like, for example, we recently introduced Connect 4 and chess, so you can play that on the closed alpha right now.
Sweet.
Wow, cool.
In Zenith playing chess, and I think that's a really unique thing, not just for Zenith, but for all the multiplayer social games that are on there, on the VR platforms right now. Because that's something VR does uniquely well. In addition to the full embodiment, right? Like that social experience, that sense of presence, that's something no other platform can give. And it is a legitimate reason that many people still hang on to their VR headsets today.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head for sure. I think you are an MMO player. I think you're able to remember why you love those games. And I do think that you're able to bring it into virtual reality, which is amazing. You're in like a weird spot, being like the first, maybe other people have taken a stab, whatever, we can argue about who's first, but like, I'm going to go ahead and just, for all intents and purposes, call Zenith the first for this conversation. And it's like a bit of like a chicken and the egg scenario, because like at some point you have something that's fun and like definitely would work as an MMO experience, that like you have to release it at some point. Like your dreams and aspirations for this game are far going to surpass any kind of timeline to complete it. Like, how can you complete a game like this? You can't. World of Warcraft has been in active development for like 20 years, and they just keep doing stuff. They keep adding things. They keep balancing. They keep changing things. They keep doing all of that stuff. And that's really what an MMO is all about. It's a living, breathing world that, every day you come into it, something new is happening, a new experience, or, even if it's just a new same old with your buddies, like it's still there. So yeah, I can imagine it's difficult for you guys because you want to put the game out. You want people to be able to play it now because it's fun now, and it does scratch the itch, but you also have all of these dreams and aspirations, you want to see all those come to fruition too. Did we lose Andy?
I'm back.
Okay,
back.
sweet.
I have returned.
Welcome back.
I'm in an office space today, and I have to tether, so I apologize for any connection difficulties. But I heard most of the gist of what you're saying, right? Like, done is better than perfect is something that I've always subscribed to. We're building a live service game that we want to be around for many years. So the best way to build what our players want is to just get it out there, let them experience it, and then iterate based on that feedback.
Yeah. Well, and I also want to just like slightly piggyback on what Skiva said earlier. Like Zenith was special for me as well, being an MMO fan and a VR fan and being able to play it like that. And, it's kind of funny, but like, not everyone knows this, but Skiva and I, if we were a Venn diagram of VR experiences, our overlap is actually a lot thinner than people might realize. Like he and I don't jump into the same types of VR experiences every day. There's stuff that keeps me coming back all the time, and it's not the same stuff that keeps him coming back every time. But when Zenith came out, we were aligned. Like I was getting everything that I needed out of VR. He was getting everything that he needed out of VR. And then I am T-posing to fly over to him in the sand area, and we were like grouping up. And that's probably like the most consecutive amount of days of VR gaming that we have ever done together.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And with a lot of different people that I don't always get to play with because we don't always want to play the same things, but everyone kind of came together to play Zenith.
So it was good. So you definitely have me hyped about the new content. I think I'm going to wait because I mean I didn't really play the Essence Mage, which I guess I could just jump into, and if I started an Essence Mage as of your newest upcoming patch, that would probably be a pretty awesome experience, right? I imagine like if anyone's coming back, would you expect them to start a new character and like go from the beginning so you can like see all that content, or do you expect people to come back and continue their high level?
It would be interesting, to get a flavor for the world, to come in and see the new cutscenes and things like that. I think also the creature catching functionality and pets are something that the entire community can enjoy in a more casual way, so go in there, see what there is, play with this new mechanic, which really feels like a different thing altogether in many respects, right? From what we've had, which is just combat and exploration and cooking and stuff like that. And get a feel for what's different, what's more polished. We've also spent a lot of time, specifically working on concerns. We have a specific epic every quarter that's literally just looking at the top 10 complaints that our players are voicing through a variety of feedback channels and then trying to address those things. So I would say start a new character and see what it feels like, either in this upcoming patch or when the Cyber Ninja comes out in 1.3.
OBS crashed and we had a little bit of a hiccup, but guess what, the episode is still going. All right, so we're going to use the opportunity now. We were just kind of gushing about Zenith and diving into it with Andy, but we're going to use the opportunity to shift gears right now, right? Because Nogi said he had a question to ask Andy.
Yeah. So I actually have a couple of questions, but first of all, kind of technical questions. So I was an Alpha Zenith user. So when I tried the Alpha version, I thought it's kind of too far away to the commercial version. But I think it's less than a year, right, to launch a game. And then when I played the commercial version, it's well made. And I was so surprised, so I was so impressed. But it's MMO, and then still, it's also launched on the Quest. But there's tons of users in the same server. So that was I want to ask you: how many people can be in the same server at the same time? Also, how you implemented that? Many people can be in the same server, especially on
so we don't have. I have to come back to get back to you with the specific figures. It's not something we've announced publicly before, but we can definitely, what I can confirm is like definitely over 100, right? We've had like large numbers of users in the same space, and one thing I can tell you is that it's not very easy to do. It took a lot of hard work and a lot of server crashes. Right, but recently we basically roll our own backend infrastructure. So right now we're completely running on a custom tech stack that our engineers built out to kind of run Zenith. And that's going to set us up, in the future for creating novel types of experiences, and owning the tech stack end to end was really ultimately pretty important for us in our stage of growth. If we're trying to build whatever the next WoW or Final Fantasy 14, right? Those guys, the serious hitters, all have complete control over their stack because they get to build the kind of game that they want instead of kind of making it fit with what the limitations are. So it's a double-edged sword, I would say. There's bonuses and negatives to that because on one hand, yeah, we control our destiny and we control our fate and we can build whatever we want. But on the other hand, you know, we control our destiny and we control our fate. So, you know, if we mess it up, it's definitely going to be a bigger challenge to get it back running. We don't have somebody we can run to say, hey, fix this thing for us. We have to kind of fix it ourselves. So, yeah, that's what I can say. Just a lot of kind of iterative work over the course of 3 years. We ran 6 tests, right? You were there during pre-alpha, but you know, during alpha, pre-alpha, we probably couldn't run with more than 50 players or something, right? And then over time, each successive iteration, we figured out where the bottlenecks were and solved for that. And we have a really amazing engineering team. So
I mean,
is your one of the very strong technical advantage in the industry? Because 100 people, you know, I don't think we can do that right now in how many games. Because
yeah,
it's a funny time. Still, we're kind of struggling with frame rate issue for the Quest because you know we have not only simple shooter, also the special ability kind of things. That's why.
For sure, I think. Okay, so our server tech is different from the client side tech, right? So the server tech can definitely comfortably handle that. If you have 100 players on Quest 1 and Zenith, it's safe to say that you're probably going to have some pretty big technical frame rate drops, right? But you know, if you want to look at what the average case is, most of the time people aren't hanging out with hundreds of other people in the same scene. So what we try to, you know, balance for is like, what is the average case experience and how buttery smooth do we want that to be? And for Zenith, it's like most people are in parties of 4 to 8. So on Quest 1 at launch, it had to run smoothly with 4 to 8 people. And, you know, you've been through this process as well as I'm sure, you know, Meta has some very strict guidelines and QA processes around frame rate. And so they kind of, you're kind of forced to like have that. I think it's good for the platform, good for the game, but, you know, ultimately, they're not really going to let you ship a subpar performing game on the Quest platform. So really having that motivation to fix it up helped us a lot.
Well, that's cool. That's interesting because there's a lot of social VR programs out there, like VR Chat and Neos and, you know, all of these programs, Rec Room that bring in people together. And that's always the biggest thing is when you get too many people, 20 people, 15 people, right? Everything just starts to crawl to a halt. That was one of the most impressive things that I noticed right off the bat with Zenith. I was in there with so many people. There were people everywhere. My party was huge. And then there was people all over the place and it ran good. I never had any issues with frame rate drops or it just ran really, really well. So,
well, and you were running it on PC too, right?
I was, yes, but also on an HP Reverb G2 as well, which is a very high resolution display. Which it looked fantastic on, by the way. But you know, I've even played it on my Valve Index.
Sorry, I'm back.
What's that?
Oh, I'm back. I don't know if you guys saw, but I disappeared for like 20 seconds.
Oh yeah, okay. yeah. You froze there for a minute. But yeah, we were just saying how what a technical achievement that is to be able to get so many people in one place and have things still perform well because that's not the case with most places. And there's all these big companies really trying to get this stuff going well, you know, with big budget backends like VR Chat, and everyone's struggling.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, fantastic team. All credit goes to the amazing artists and engineers we have working together to kind of optimize down the game. And, you know, I would say like a lot of the talent we found is from the modding community, from the diehard VR fans that don't have traditional coding backgrounds. And I think there's a level of grit there, you know, just stick-to-itiveness to figure out how to do it, even if it's not a conventional way of solving performance issues, just kind of hacking it together when you need to. I don't know if, you know, this is the case for you too, Nogi, but a lot of the developers that we found these days, some of them are from very professional backgrounds, you know, but a lot of them are from, you know, modding community or Discord or just fans of the game.
yeah,
Mhm.
we need some really eager for the VR development. That's one of the keys for us to hire.
Just the passion.
Yeah, passion is very important.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, if you're in the VR space, you're probably passionate, because I feel like there's a lot of way more arguments against getting into it than there are getting into it, right?
Yeah, and there's better places to make a lot of money, right? So if you want to develop, if you want to develop a game and have, become rich, you're probably not going to go right into the VR space, right? But the visionaries, the people who see, they know, you guys know, and we appreciate you for bringing, all of this skill and into the VR space.
Can we talk a little bit about the MetaQuest Pro? I would love to kind of get some of your guys' thoughts at this thing. I've got one here. I'm really excited about it, right? Like I mentioned earlier in the show, I come home from Disneyland and boom, this thing is sitting on my front porch.
Wow.
Definitely like the cherry on top of
double whammy.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
Disneyland and MetaQuest Pro.
It was a good week.
What's next? Now you're going to the VAL thing.
Dude, my life kind of kicks ass, all right? I got to be honest. My life kind of is awesome. But I'm personally, I can't really do a review on it yet, but I personally am enjoying having it. I think it definitely feels next gen for me. I'm assuming both of you guys have these things and have had them for a while. So, what are your thoughts on it? Because let me share mine first. Because a lot of people on Twitter and Reddit and stuff like that are out there talking about the MetaQuest Pros, kind of saying, oh, is it successful? Did it succeed? Is it going to be good? Is it not going to be good? And I personally am really thinking about it from Meta's perspective as a enterprise use device. With my job with Contact CI, I am going to be getting people in and out of demos wearing the haptic gloves all the time. And this device, I would way rather use in a professional setting to give somebody a demo of something than a Quest 2. It's so sleek and cool looking. The color pass through allows me to still communicate with people while they're in the room. They can see me out of the side of their eyes, which, by the way, I love these magnetic blinder things. I thought I was going to have to attach this and really snap it in, but the magnets just grab them, and it's pretty cool. Really quick on and off kind of thing. But I can absolutely see the enterprise use case for this. I will be demoing people in this and not in the Quest 2 for multiple reasons. So I see how the Pro is actually a Pro. But I am curious what you guys think of the headset. What do you think of the hardware and its position in the industry?
You want to go take this first?
Okay, so there's some angles. So I'm still not 100% can review the Quest Pro because I haven't tried much, but I have it. So, for example, when you wear headset, it's way more comfortable than the Quest 2. But when I was in Japan a couple of weeks ago, I also tried Pico 4. For right now, Pico 4 is the most comfortable to wear, because it's very thin and light, and then they put the battery on the backside. That's why it's well balanced, and then it's really comfortable. And then next is, of course, the Quest Pro. It's a little bit heavier, but still way better than in Quest 2. Then after I wear those two headsets and I wear Quest 2, it's kind of from heavy.
Yeah.
And I feel like Quest 2 is already kind of a little bit older. That's my feeling when I first wear headset. And then this is also another angle. So when the Meta announced Quest Pro, then many kind of gamers kind of disappointed because it's super expensive. Because those people saying that's a gaming device. As a gaming device compared to Quest 2, they're way more expensive. That's why kind of disappointed. But Meta clearly said this is the enterprise professional version. They are trying to replace the Ops computer with the Quest Pro. I think it's some misleading happening, but it's kind of joking. But recently, Pico also announced Pico Enterprise, the professional model, and I was kind of thought, I think the Meta should name Quest Pro as a Quest Enterprise.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have as good of a ring to it, but it would certainly convey its use case a lot cleaner.
Yeah. That's why it is kind of my light debut.
And I agree. I think they should have named it the Quest Enterprise, because there is a lot of confusion over, why am I buying this thing for $1,500 when it's, when it doesn't give you all of the benefits maybe of such a massive upgrade over the Quest 2, but people truly don't understand. And there's a reason for that, because we have a lot of different products that come out with the Pro name, but they are not for professionals, right? Like the PS4 Pro. That is not, you're not going to an office and people are using PlayStations, right? So the word pro doesn't have the same meaning as maybe it used to. So maybe, the marketing and the naming and the device could have definitely been better to kind of more convey that. Now, they did take a lot of time to really explain this during MetaConnect, but not, your normal consumer doesn't watch MetaConnect. They don't even know it exists, right? That's more for us, for investors, for people, enthusiasts in the market. And so, yeah, I completely agree. This is a professional device. It shows with their partnerships with Microsoft and some of these other companies, and what they're really aiming for with this, because business drives headsets and innovation. Businesses can afford better, nicer things for their employees to bring up their productivity and to be able to make more money. So spending a little bit more on a device is okay. Where Joe and Sally Walmart are not going to go out and spend $1,500 on a headset. It's not in most people's budget. But yeah, this is definitely an enterprise.
What do you think, Andy?
Well, I'm going to echo Nogi's sentiments and say we have had Quest Pro for some time, but I haven't had as much time to try it as I would like, to be quite honest, right? What I would say, I'm going to kind of bifurcate my opinion here between my thoughts as a consumer and my thoughts as a developer of Zenith, right? As the developer of Zenith, for us as a consumer gaming console, I like how it points to the future of what's achievable. But if we're looking at, building specific things for that platform, we need to see kind of a bigger audience size to justify the investment, because there's plenty of things we need to do to improve the core gameplay of Zenith that doesn't involve, facial tracking or color pass-through, right? Those are like definitely, cherry on top features that I think we could build to make it way better. And of course, facial tracking is also super, super interesting from a social VR context.
Yeah.
And I've seen a few games and, Horizons, and it's pretty cool already, what those things are able to achieve. And especially within the context of a workspace, right? You want to be able to communicate with people as you might do on a Zoom call or in real life. But a lot of the people that are kind of, I guess, naysayers about the MetaQuest Pro, like it or not, there is a long-term strategy here from Meta's perspective. And you're looking at a snapshot in time of some incredibly, remarkable technology, quite frankly, that we could not have imagined would be on a production hardware device even years ago. I mean, I remember when the Quest came out, it was like, wait, standalone VR is here already? I think they've moved at an incredibly fast clip, and you got to look at the big picture, right? Like, where does this line up with, Meta's long-term aspirations in the XR space versus what is this today mean for consumers? And I think it gets them to where they want to be faster than it would without the device, right?
Yeah. They
can take this, they can learn from it, they can roll in all of the learnings and experience and research they've done on this high-end product. As a consumer, it looks and feels awesome, I think, right? Like, if price were no object, I guess, if I didn't have to worry about how much it cost, it's clearly a superior device in almost every way when compared to the Quest 2, and makes it very much more comfortable, I think, to spend extended periods of time in the game. Although I don't know, is it actually lighter, or does it just? I thought it was heavier.
It's a little heavier.
It was distributed on the back, but it certainly looks a lot lighter as well.
And it's way more comfortable out of the box, to Nogi's point. Like, out of the box, the Quest 2, That thing hurts. Out of the box, the Quest Pro, like I don't have any accessories on my Quest Pro, and it feels great. I would never use a Quest 2 out of the box without accessories. Never.
Yeah.
Never.
And
how does it feel compared to the accessorized version, like with the Elite strap or
similar?
Those versions of Quest 2.
Similar. They feel very similar. Yeah. The main thing that's missing for me is the facial interface, right? Like this. So on this one, it's more of like the Halo style. So we have like the pad that's connecting to our forehead, where before I was using the like VR cover facial interfaces, which are like pillows on your face. So that is like pretty comfortable, but the weight is a little bit different with the Quest 2, right? Like to Nogi's point, also very front heavy. I think this is really balanced quite nicely. And so out of the box, this thing checks the marks for me, which every time I talk to somebody about a Quest 2 buying, I'm like, okay, so just so you know, you're going to need to spend an extra $100 on accessories to make this thing wearable, because it's literally, in my opinion, not wearable out of the box. I think that the Quest Pro absolutely is. So
from a developer's perspective, and this will be good to ask both of you because you're both running multiplayer experiences, which are very processor heavy. It takes a lot to run them. Do you have any interest in the use of dynamic foveated rendering to kind of help with performance? Using eye tracking to only fully render the center of the screen where the user is looking, and be able to kind of use the rest as a much lower resolution because you don't see that part, right? And then boost performance. Maybe I can ask Nogi first if that's something you've considered. Oh, I think you're on mute. There we go. Oh no,
Nogi, we can't hear you, man. What happened, Nogi? No.
I don't know. What happened to Nogi? Maybe we start with Andy and Nogi can unmute.
Sure. Yeah, that stuff is awesome. Dynamic FFR. We're using FFR right now in the game, but it's way more obvious because it's just it's not dynamic. And there's a way to make it dynamic actually in Quest 2 land as well, but it's more based on performance. So if you detect that GPU or like the frame rate is dropping below 72, you can turn it on, but you're still going to notice it in the periphery, right? And it also is probably different depending on what your eyes look like and what your IPD adjustments are and everything like that. But with dynamic foveated rendering, you can really kind of get a lot more bang for your buck without the user noticing. And I think that's where the power comes in. But it also depends on where, and I'm going to get a little bit too technical here, but it also depends on what is causing the problem, because FFR a lot of times is for GPU bound things, right? Things that are very heavy on the GPU. You can render less pixels, so therefore it's cheaper. It can save you a couple milliseconds. But if you're still like CPU bound, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times FFR is not going to help with that. And a lot of the times in VR, especially if you're talking about multiplayer, it tends to be CPU bound with the draw calls and with the networking overhead.
Can we hear Nogi yet? Kind of. Maybe a little closer to the mic.
Cutting in and out a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go.
I do hear that.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. So I'm actually almost same opinion as Andy, because we still targeting primarily Quest 2.
Yep.
So probably next generation of Quest gaming device, should be our targeting. So, but still, eye tracking should be, we can optimize, the user's eyesight, and then, more optimize our frame rate. That's the first things we have to do. But other things, the implement also integrate the eye tracking mechanics into the game. This is the next challenge for us to do. But we have some brief discussion internally, but we haven't figured out what should be kind of fun experience using eye tracking stuff. That's the current status.
I do love gaze-based aiming. Like, I look at something I'm trying to hit, and as I'm staring at it, if I throw it, it's more accurate. I really do appreciate that. I've done a couple of demos with gaze-based stuff using eye tracking, and I love that. Throwing a grenade using eye tracking, I think would be so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think foveated rendering is going to be, dynamic foveated rendering using eye tracking is going to be absolutely huge. But to like what Andy was saying earlier, we're going to need more of a user base to justify being able to put developers and spend time into this when everyone has like this long list of things they're trying to get done, right? And does that make the top of the list? You know, like when implementing peripherals in, right? Sometimes developers don't have time because there's not enough user base to make that happen. So this will be interesting, especially with PlayStation VR 2 coming out, offering eye tracking and then dynamic foveated rendering as well. Do either of you guys actually plan on being on the PlayStation VR 2?
We have not made any public announcements about that. Yeah.
Cool.
What I can say is we're very excited about the platform. It's obviously, you know, a huge step up from VR1 and can leverage the power of PS5. And so it is a very exciting platform, but, you know, we haven't.
Yeah.
That is the platform for Zenith, bro.
Right.
Oh my God. If Zenith came out on the PlayStation VR 2, I think it would be a slam dunk, man.
Yeah.
It's like the kind of game for that kind of platform. Like, I think that would be good.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, we have official announcement, any implementation with the PlayStation VR 2, but I kind of expected, they have a headset, haptics, right? Because we are making shooter game. It should be cool if you have a haptics when you have the headshot.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, the headset rumble. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what developers do outside of just like taking damage too. Like those haptics being used to convey information is a really big opportunity. You know, like there's a lot of stuff that it's like hard to make your players privy to. You know, like urgent things, like anything that's urgent. If it's like shaking your face, like that's immediate tip off to something that I need to be reacting to right now. And it doesn't always have to be taking damage. It could be like something else is taking damage or I don't know, whatever, like maybe someone trips an alarm somewhere and like now I need to react, or I don't know. I'd be interested to see some of the other use cases other than just getting headshot that people use those haptics for, developers.
Haptics are awesome. Haptics are so important, right?
Yeah.
We've often talked about feeling being one of the senses of the human experience. So, implementing haptics along with the visuals, along with the sound, all very, very important parts of
Speaking of the haptics, the controllers on the Quest Pro really do feel nice.
That's my favorite part. My favorite part of the Quest Pro are the controllers. The haptics, the weight, the feel of them, the no tracking ring, the responsiveness. Man, those controllers are very nice.
They are, and they're so much smaller.
Premium.
Like they like take up so much less room without the ring. Yeah, you know. Like they're pretty compact. There's a little bit of weight to them. They're way heavier than I expected them to. Yeah. But I love how this is all like wireless. I mean, wireless. Like the dock is all wireless and it's like kind of magnetic, so you just like set the controller on it and just like sticks to it and goes. I'm a big fan of the headset so far. Like verdict is it's kind of still too early to give a verdict, but I personally believe that the Quest Pro is a no-brainer for a bunch of people, not the majority of people, but there are a bunch of people who it's just a straight up no-brainer. And if it's not a no-brainer for you, it's not for you. Right. Like there are some people who are just like, nope, we need this. Like with the work that I'm doing with Context CI, this is a must. Yep. We need this thing. And there are other people out there who are like, no, okay, with what we're doing, training and simulation or this, that, or the other thing, this is so much better than a Quest 2. So much better than that big brick thing, like
training has a massive part of the VR market. I've seen a lot of people talking on Twitter and on Discord and a lot of places that they just don't have any way to see and understand that the training and enterprise uses for VR headsets in general, right? But we've talked to a lot of people, done a lot of company demos, a lot of enterprise demos, and we've seen a lot of the ways that this stuff is being positioned. And you're right, this is a no-brainer for a lot of different kinds of companies, a lot of people doing different types of training scenarios and different things. So I think this could very well be a success. you know, we just have to, you know, people just have to, Meta should be responsible for this, communicating properly who this headset is for.
No way. Because by naming it the Pro, they can target that Venn diagram overlap. You know, it's like they're the business people and they're the consumers. This is a no-brainer for some consumers. Some people, they've got 10 million chilling in their bank account. They don't care. They're like, I want the best headset I can get. Period. Yeah, sure. And they're gonna buy it. You know, that's it. So they don't want to turn gamers off from buying it, because then you're just like cutting out a big chunk of the people who could potentially be your customer. Yeah. Absolutely. So I don't blame them. You know, it would be clearer for people on Reddit and Twitter who are like having a difficulty figuring out if they want to spend $1,500 on it, but I can see why they did that.
I do want to say that if you are out there with some FOMO from this device and you feel like you're missing out and maybe you're not getting the best experience, I have to tell you that the Quest 2 still looks incredible. Even after wearing this, the Quest 2 is still an incredible headset, right? Like, you are not going to play a game in this and be like, wow, this is so much better. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are things that this can do that the Quest 2 can't, like mixed reality gaming and things like that. But if you're in there playing Beat Saber, if you're in there playing, you know, After the Fall or Zenith or Altair Breaker, I don't know that you're really gonna see much of a difference.
Yeah, you know, and that kind of gets me to the pass-through now. Nogi, have you messed around with any of that color pass-through on the Quest Pro, and what are your thoughts on it?
So I also tried Pico 4 pass-through.
Right. Well, we haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, but definitely Quest Pro is much better. Yeah, it's clear, and also the color things is really accurate than I thought. Also, Pico 4 is good enough, but Quest Pro is way better. That's my experience.
Do you like it? But, do you see like use cases for it?
Yes, somehow. Also, sometimes, because personally, I don't like pass-through too much, because we see the real world. But I really like immersiveness into the VR, deeply. But sometimes kind of work, and then I have to see some people stuff. That's easier. And then I think I can walk on the outside. Yeah. I still don't know business-wise it's the useful or not. I have to try more.
Yeah. Have you used the pass-through, Andy?
I have not. I have not used the color pass-through yet. Yeah. I can imagine that it's a step up in terms of clarity and its color from Quest 2.
That would be accurate. Yeah, it definitely is.
What it needs to be is to a point where you actually can't differentiate, which I think it's going to take a while to get there, right? It's like, okay, if it's MR and I'm walking around, there's still that kind of weird sense of disconnect, I think, if you feel, and it's like I'm VR facsimile of the world that's been built around me. I'm not actually in the world that's around me. And I wonder how much it'll actually take to get to that.
I think a lot.
Like lower resolution, obviously, but like just the field of view, that kind of stuff. I'm wondering how they fix that, because I think it's also going to be different depending on, your kind of eyes. Is my uneducated guess or thought there. So they might even need to employ some sort of machine learning or training models to make that vision look like the vision you have when you're looking through something.
Yeah, I think a lot of this, I think the pass-through in the Quest Pro will get better. I think it'll look better over time, just like the Quest 2's pass-through did, with a series of software updates and algorithms. And I think we're going to see a big bump when Apple enters the game. That will be a much more expensive device, I think, than even the Quest Pro. But there will be, very expensive hardware in there. And I think the color pass-through will be probably at least twice this from some of the specs that I've heard rumored. That's just a guess, right? But I think this isn't slowing down. The technology that they're using here for MR and being able to do gaming in MR and work and enterprise training with mixed reality content is not going anywhere. It's just going to get better and better. We're just kind of, all of this technology, I keep saying we're kind of in the Atari 2600 phases of all this, right? And eventually we'll be at the PS5
Is this an NES? This isn't got to be an NES by now, right? Like,
maybe, maybe we're at the NES, right? But you get what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
We're still at the beginning of something so special, and all of the stuff is just going to continue to improve.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, especially for people like our guests here, because because they are the people that are making the content for this stuff. And at the end of the day, content is king. You could have the best device ever in the whole world, and if we don't have talented developers, then we are not going to go anywhere. So we applaud you guys
for sure. We love you guys. Thank you for making VR games.
Yes, and good ones.
I will say that the one thing that this Quest Pro does have going for it is in terms of its like color pass-through goodness, I guess, is that it is so much thinner than any other standalone headset. So like your peripherals, if you don't have the blinders on, they're still kind of there. And like I can like see my hand over here in the corner, and then I can pull it in front of me and watch it kind of pass into the pass-through zone, and it looks pretty good. You know, like the full color pass-through for use of like setting up Guardians and stuff like that, in my opinion, is a huge upgrade. Yeah. Like it is so much, I'm so much more, I don't know, I was really impressed by what it felt like to make my Guardian with the full color pass-through on the Quest Pro versus the black and white pass-through on the Quest 2. So I think that just for that reason alone, it improves the user experience pretty considerably, because you always have to set up Guardians. Like it's a big part of using the headset. So I think that it does have that going for it. But I played a couple of very quick until I died rounds of Demio using the AR pass-through, so you can like see your room around you, and you still have the virtual board there. And it was cool for a little while, but after about 30 minutes or so, it was a little like it was a little draining for me. You know, like the graininess of that pass-through image is still very, very present. If you like move your head around a little bit, it smears and kind of gets blurry, and like it was like pulling energy out of me to keep it in that mode versus just like a fully immersive VR space. So I personally don't think it really makes a lot of sense for like elongated VR experiences or MR experiences, quick demos, Guardian setup, stuff like that. I really, really like it for, but not so much for like a gaming experience so far.
Yeah. And we will get there, right? And like I said, I think the pass-through, the quality of it will go up, because if there's one thing Meta's good at, it's continually updating and upgrading and making their products better over time. They have not stopped with the Quest 2. They're going strong. The Quest 2 continues to get better and better and better, with no end in sight, right? So I think the same thing's going to happen with this device all the way going into the Quest 3.
So Nogi, you said that the Pico 4 is lighter, potentially more comfortable than the Quest Pro. Is there anything else that like definitely stood out to you with the Pico 4 in comparison to the Quest Pro, where you're like, oh yeah, it does this better also, you know, or anything that you really liked about it?
So I only tried one time at the Pico Japan office a couple of weeks ago. And also controller is very, very light. Although they're bigger, but still pretty light. And that's what I feel. Oh, it's comfortable, so light and easy to play. That's my first impression. And also the eyesight is actually feel way wider than Quest 2. But they also using the pancake lens, and also the higher resolution. That's my first feeling. But I didn't play any games, just try some menu kind of things. That's it, like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. What's your favorite headset right now, Andy?
I love them all. You know, I think it depends on, you know, I think it depends on what kind of user you are, you know. I don't think I can say this, because we have many partners that we're happy with, and we want to make sure we're not ruffling any feathers there. So all of them have their own strengths, and all of them have their own weaknesses. I'm sorry, that's totally a cop out.
Yeah, you're a politician answer.
I'm excited about them all.
Very good.
That is fact, though. It really is. Like, you know what I mean? There are people that don't have any need for like an index, and the Quest is perfect for them, and vice versa. Same with HP Reverb, same with all of these headsets, PlayStation VR, even one. Each headset has its pros and its cons, and does something very, very well, and that something is very important to a certain subset of people. So You're right. That's a politician answer, but it is very correct.
Even the
same
Vive
time.
Cosmos, Skiva?
Well, I mean, let's not get carried away. Or the flow. I mean, but even the flow
has a reason.
Has its reasoning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They all have something that they do well, and they So I agree. I agree with you there. They're all great for different reasons, and I have a ton of headsets, and I use them all. For the most part. I mean,
so not to put you on the spot, Andy, but is there anything that's kind of been like that you've been kicking around in your head that you think is interesting that you want to get into, or any questions that you might have for Nogi that you haven't had a chance to ask?
No, I think one of the things that, we're excited about, and we were just talking about this in the pre-show, right, is how we can get more engaged with content creators out there. And with this being a VAL event, VAL VR event, and the expo coming up, which I'm really excited about. I unfortunately won't be able to go, but we'll be sending members of our team out there to meet all the great content creators and game developers that'll be there. And so one thing we've been thinking about is, how can we create a sponsored kind of content creator program within Zenith? Because we want to make sure we're working with content creators that we like, that are on brand, and we want to make sure that we're giving them the resources they need to succeed, not only in their own personal enterprises, but also feel like they can create, real content within Zenith without feeling like necessarily it's super ad driven or cringy is the word that I'm going to use. So the idea with this is kind of similar to a lot of other programs in the past, where it's not going to be based on a per video basis, but you'll basically be able to be a part of this program, and we'll pay you monthly, and you'll have a certain amount of content that you'll have to produce per month. But beyond that, it's really just using your own creativity and vision to kind of drive forth the content that your audience would be interested in consuming, right? So it may be very different depending on who is in the program. So we're going to give people a wide latitude. We know that content creators know their audience way better than we ever could. But the question is, how can we do this in a more sustainable way, so people aren't just getting one-off videos here and there, spending 10 hours editing and not knowing where their paycheck is going to come. And we'll be targeting, larger influencers, but also smaller micro and small influencers as well. So I don't have any exact details on that yet, but it's something we hope to unveil at the event, and more information in the coming weeks.
Dang, so if you are a VR video creator out there, you have a YouTube channel or a Twitch, you might want to be sliding into Zenith's DMs sometime soon, because it sounds like there's going to be a paid opportunity to make content from an insanely good game. So that's like a win-win, if you ask me.
That is. I mean, there's a lot of really, really talented video creators out there right now. We are lucky to have a lot of them as our friends. And I think it's a great way to get a game out in front of an audience that, we have people coming into the VR scene all the time. There's new people joining up. They're discovering VR for the first time. They just put on a headset and it blew their mind. Now they're looking for content. They have no idea about a lot of these games. They don't know that there's MMOs. They don't know that there's, all these different types of shooters and sword games and all of these things. So being able to place yourself in front of these audiences that are out there eagerly looking for this content to see what they should be playing and trying is a great idea, and great talented people out there, and I can't wait to see how this all pans out.
We'll be on the floor at the VAL Expo, be championing for you. We'll be making some connections.
We'll have an early access build of 1.2. We'd love to have you guys try it out and give us your opinion on creature catching and all the new stuff we have there. I mean, I want to be the very best that no one ever was. Am I going to be able to do that? Look, I can't, you're landing me in hot water even saying that, but I can say that the experience we've created, is really amazing, and really touches on some of the fantasies that people have around collecting and catching various creatures out in the wild.
That sounds great to me. We're getting really close here.
Yeah, we are.
Nogi, is there anything else that you wanted to mention before we start to wrap this up?
Well, yeah. So no, after I listened to the what Andy said, so I think we have like common challenge, entire industry. Like still people kind of hesitating wear headset. Also many kind of the confusing stuff. So work with content creator, influencer, friends, developer like you guys. That's also very important. So we still want to collaborate with together to make our VR industry market bigger. That's our common challenge. That's we want to do it together. Also, we also show the X8 at the event in Salt Lake City. So please try it.
We will be playing the X8 in Salt Lake
sure.
City, and we'll push all of our friends into that too. So that way you guys get plenty of opinions from people. And the good thing I think from most of the creators that I know is it's rare that people like really pull their punches, like if they have feedback, they're going to give it to you, you know? So I think this is a really good event to be busting this out at, because there's going to be a lot of people who know their stuff when it comes to VR. And I think you'll get some great feedback from it.
Yeah. I'm excited to play it. I really am. I'm excited to hang out and and try all of this stuff, with you, and see the presence that Zenith has and Altair Breaker and X8. I think this is going to be a great event.
It's gonna be fun.
And thanks for VAL for putting this together, because this type of stuff is not easy. It's very, very hard. It takes an incredible amount of planning to pull an event like this off. Yeah. So props to them.
Yep. And props to you guys for, joining us on the show today. Andy, Nogi, it's really been awesome having you guys both. And typically we de-introduce people and kick you out early, but we're not going to do that. We want you guys to close the show with us. Is that okay?
Of course.
Great. All right. You guys are going to ride this thing into the sunset with us because, it just makes the most sense for what's happening in this exact second.
Sure.
All right. So we are in Salt Lake City, but we'll be back. Are we going to be live next week?
Next week we should be live again.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Do we know who we have?
Yeah.
Maybe we know.
Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. Let me see what I can pull up real fast here.
It's okay. We're going to have somebody awesome, because guess what? We always do. That's the way it is here on Between Realities, the VR podcast that you need in your life. You got something there?
Yeah.
You got it?
No, maybe so. No, I don't at the moment, but we will have someone great.
Yeah, we'll have someone great. Thank you for watching the Between Realities VR podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. No.
Yes, we'll keep it a secret then.
Keep it a secret. Andy, thank you for being here. Nogi, thank you for being here. Yes. Zenith, The Last City, it's an awesome MMO. Altair Breaker, it's an awesome action adventure game where you're an anime badass crushing stuff. Thank you guys both for joining us here, and thank you all for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. We will see you next week with somebody who you don't know about, but you will then.
Bye,
guys. Everyone.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.